Good morning, everyone. Let's get right into the Word of God. So today we're going to be reading Deuteronomy chapter 8. All the commandments which I command thee this day shall ye observe to do, that ye may live and multiply, and go in and possess the land which the Lord sware unto your fathers. And thou shalt remember all the way which the Lord thy God led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee, and to prove thee, to know what was in thine heart, whether you wouldest keep his commandments or no. And he humbled thee, and suffered thee to hunger, and fed thee with manna, which thou knewest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man doth not live by bread only, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Lord doth man live. Thy raiment waxed not old upon thee, neither did thy foot swell these 40 years. Thou shalt also consider in thine heart, that as a man chasteneth his son, so the Lord thy God chasteneth thee. Therefore thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God, to walk in his ways, and to fear him. For the Lord thy God bringeth thee into a good land, a land of brooks of water, of fountains and depths that spring out of valleys and hills, a land of wheat, and barley, and vines, and fig trees, and pomegranates, a land of olive oil, or oil of olive, and honey, a land wherein thou shalt eat bread without scarceness. Thou shalt not lack anything in it, a land whose stones are iron, and out of whose hills thou mayest dig brass. When thou hast eateth and art full, then thou shalt bless the Lord thy God for the good land which he hath given thee. Beware that thou forget not the Lord thy God in keeping his commandments, and his judgments, and his statutes, which I command thee this day, lest thou hasten eaten and art full, and hast built goodly houses, and dwelt therein. And when thy herds and thy flocks multiply, and thy silver and thy gold is multiplied, and all that thou hast multiplied, then thy heart be lifted up, and thou forget the Lord thy God, which brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage, who led thee through the great and terrible wilderness, wherein were fiery serpents, and scorpions, and drought, where there was no water, who brought thee forth water out of the rock of flint, who fed thee in the wilderness with manna, which thy fathers knew not, that he might humble thee, and that he might prove thee, to do thee good at thy latter end. And thou say in thine heart, my power and the might of my hand had gotten me this wealth. But thou shalt remember the Lord thy God, for it is he that giveth thee power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant, which he sware unto thy fathers, as it is this day. And it shall be, if thou do at all forget the Lord thy God, and walk after other gods, and serve them, and worship them, I testify against you this day that ye shall surely perish. As the nations which the Lord destroyeth before your face, so shall ye perish, because ye would not be obedient unto the voice of the Lord your God. And that is the end of Deuteronomy chapter 8. As a summary of Deuteronomy chapter 8, we have God's gracious dealings. And of course, we're reminded to keep the commandments of God. Again, right? Seems like he's really big on keeping these commandments, and he purposefully didn't give them water. He was testing them to see, if they would complain and murmur like they did and not serve him anymore. Now, they or maybe not even halfway completed it, 1/3 completed it, and then God reminds them, He chastised them like a son would chastise his son, or a father would chastise his son, right? That's what God is. He's a father. So everyone asks why. Why does God do this to Israel? He's just an angry God, or they'll make the joke, that's the God of the Old Testament, saying he's a evil, whatever God. No, he's a father, and look what Israel has done. you know, they keep murmuring, they don't want to follow his ways, you know, they don't listen. So what do you do to a son that doesn't listen, right? You spank him in his behind. You know what I mean? But it's just people don't understand the word of God, right? And he also wants us to have his, the words, right? To keep his words, right? It says it. And what does God bring up? He says, I will raise thee up a prophet in his words you should listen to, right? Jesus Christ. And we know Jesus Christ is God, right? And then we go down to here. He reminds them he got them out of Egypt, right? And if they would do these things, they will have, abundance in the land. But also not forget that the Lord also brings wealth, and that it is, not for them to forget God, right? And he's reminding them that wealth comes from him, the power of it, right? Now, it says there that they can get wealthy, but because of what God has done, and forget God, right? Again, this is why, Jesus says it is easier for a camel to go through an eye of a needle than a rich man to go to heaven, right? And, you know, yep. Anyways, so that's pretty much it. Oh, and he says, if you don't keep these commandments when you're in the land, those nations that I overcame and they're perished now, I will do the same to you, right? He warns them right there. He tells them, you know what I mean? And they still, in the future did it, right? It's just, would be nice if people would just listen to him. You know what I mean? The church would listen to him, Israel would listen to him, but no. Now we just got a mess today. But anyways, guys, thank you for listening, and you guys have a wonderful day.